Coming to you as always from Cooper's Old Time Pit Barbecue in Aggieland, right off the bypass. Again, every single time. If you're in Aggieland, I say this every time because I believe in it. If you're in Aggieland, you want some barbecue, stop by Cooper's. Fantastic restaurant, owned by some fantastic people. So just kind of stop in. It's right off the bypass. And one thing I always tell my guests in the state of Texas, like the best way to just kind of have a just BS back and forth kind of conversation is generally over a plate of barbecue, right?
I don't disagree.
It's very Texan.
It's either that or Tex-Mex.
That's fair. Tacos as well. So this is Blake Zeitman. He is the owner and proprietor of Zeitman's Grocery. That has, and I want to get into this, but tell me, from 131 year legacy?
131 years now.
131 years. So his great-great-great-grandfather started Zeitman's Grocery. We're going to get into that because it's a fantastic story. And I've actually, if you look through my Instagram, I think I did a live. I think it was on Instagram. I stopped by a couple months ago and went live. And you shouldn't have to go that far because I don't post a ton on Instagram, so you should pretty easy to find probably. So Blake and I have been friends since 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. So when I started up my barbecue trailer, you had at the time, was it still Big Daddy Z's?
It was still Big Daddy Z's.
So it was Big Daddy Z's. So I've known Blake from Big Daddy Z's to Blake Steaks to Zeitman's Grocery, and which, by the way, is at 220 North Main down in Bryan. So it's on Main Street. It's on the main drag. And Blake and I, so obviously. He was a great mentor in the beginning because I think, like most people that get into the food industry, I had no idea what I was doing.
You know how to make food.
I knew how to make food.
Which is a lot of people, a lot of great people get in the food industry and they know how to make food, but that is not a, and even some of them know business, but this is not a business like any other business.
That is you could probably put that on a shirt.
Yes.
In fact, that should be part of when.
I think Tillman Fertitta has one.
Yeah, when you get like your occupancy and you get your permit, it should just be stable. It should be like right across your permit. So every day that you see, you're like, that's right. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Yeah. And so you started. Now, did you start with Big Daddy Z's?
Started with Big Daddy Z's in 2012.
And that was down in Houston, though, right?
Down in
Houston.
Started
in Houston, and I want you to tell this story because I remember you told this to me, and it's not like a long one or anything, but. The difficulty in getting a permit with the big propane tanks in Houston with a food truck. I mean,
yeah. Okay. So apparently it's a lot easier now. We paved the way, I guess. But I remember going to a meeting and there was like, it was really, for one, it was like probably one of the coolest like city council meetings ever. So I had Chris Shepard, who's like the guy that does Southern Smoke. Yeah. And is one of the bigger names in food in Texas. And then Bun B and, 3 or 4 other, big names in Houston and Texas food were there.
And little old Blake.
And little old Blake and a few other little old food trucks.
Big Daddy Z's, baby.
That's right. And so it was a pretty cool meeting, except for the fact that we had one city council member referred to DC and that there were all these food trucks around the mall. Mm-hmm. Which I've seen, and
right, yeah.
So obviously they're super terrifying if they've got them, around our nation's capital, right? But then he goes on to say, like, that they could have been run by, drug dealers and terrorists. And I kind of looked at him and I was, we were all just like flabbergasted. The fact that he would say that out loud and on record. And then also, and he did get quoted by the Houston Chronicle.
You said the quiet part out loud.
So thank you for the Chronicle for quoting him on that. But also, like, it was just like I would have to go to one place to get this permit, another place to get this permit, and then I'd have to go to this person to get checked out in order to be able to get a permit in another place.
Well, Houston isn't that big though.
Third smallest country, state, city in the nation.
Yeah, it's the size of Connecticut.
Yeah,
which I think is actually accurate.
Yeah, it was a lot of hoops. So that was once I did that, I felt like I could kind of take on just about
anything. Yeah, right on. And so I initially met you Big Daddy Z's. That's kind of how I knew you first, right. And then and you were a real mentor to me with the trailer because again. a brick and mortar is completely different from from the food trailer. It's just again.
Well, I mean, and as you know, I mean, at that point I was almost 5 years into my food truck career. So at that point I was a freaking expert. You're
like a hardened veteran. Like you made it past the. This is when everybody quits stage, right?
The first year. Yeah. If I would have been smart, I probably would have. But,
well, hey, here's to being,
I learned some lessons.
Fellow knuckle dragger as well. So Blake's a veteran.
Crayons.
He was in the Marine Corps. So that was probably another thing that I think maybe helped us to communicate. Yeah. Well, just maybe communicate in like grunts, basically, and not full sentences. But yeah, so you were really there to mentor me, just kind of as a whole, because again, it's just everything about it was so different. Even when I get into brick and mortar, it was it's just
yeah.
I told you when you walked in, you looked great, by the way, and I remember that because I told what I say. I said
stress will do that for you.
Stress takes off weight. It's a great diet to be fully stressed every day.
Stress in children. If you want to lose weight, stress in children.
Yeah, I was really skinny when I had the food trailer. Yeah. But so what I want to talk about is, and it's kind of a long arc, so I don't want to have you just kind of bullet point it because I think it's more involved than that. But really from that 2012 point where you started with Big Daddy Z's and you were down in Houston, give me the arc of one kind of getting to what was it about Bryan College Station to move operations up here, and then at what point was it, where did Zeitman's Grocery come in? Because that's a different jump.
That is a jump, yeah. So. Without being a bullet point, but still kind of keeping it short and sweet. After I ETS'd, I came here to College Station in 07, a couple years after I did, and then I met some people, met my wife, who I winded up chasing, was my girlfriend at the time, chased her back to Houston.
And who is an absolute treasure, by the way.
Yes, and a teacher, and an Aggie. So
married to you, so the stress in her life is
super high,
unbelievable,
super high. So followed her, and I had kind of Chef Tay had really started, kind of that whole Food Network. Thing where he was on the food truck race or whatever it was called, and so he was just starting that, and I had reached out to him. We had some mutual friends. I reached out to him and it was kind of like, hey, what do you think about the market? Food. Like literally when I was thinking about food trucks, I started thinking about it here in Bryan College Station, and I kind of poked around with him. And he'd kind of give me oh yeah, I mean there's a few trucks, mostly this and that, and health department woes and. So I kind of let it go because it's the health department woes, you say that, and then, but then I got into.
And then you have to think about the fact that you're driving basically a thermonuclear, missile.
Right, yeah, with all those super dangerous, all the drugs I had, packed in the walls,
It's a balancing act in the restaurant industry to begin with, especially with the trucks. You have the limited space. You got to think about buns. You got to think about meat. You have to think about where you put your cocaine and also where you put your uranium-238. So again. And sometimes it's just organization. It's really all it is sometimes. But I'm sorry.
So most definitely. And if you don't strap it down, it will roll.
That's a fact. Well, so at this point, were you in Houston or were you still here?
I was still in Houston. This is circa 2010. I started talking to him about this. 2011, he won.
Right.
And then I had already started working on business plan. I had gone and sat with there's a group called SCORE. It's a group of retired executives that volunteer their time to help entrepreneurs.
Oh, okay.
It's really cool. Yeah. And my mom had suggested it, and I went and sat down with a guy who used to be VP of loans for Wells Fargo at their major, they was in the corporate, not a branch manager. And he sat down with me and looked at my plan, said, first thing out of his mouth is, I don't know anything about food trucks. Second thing out of his mouth, and he goes, the numbers make sense. And so that was kind of what I took, out of that whole situation, helped me kind of go back and forth and really iron out a bunch of small details that I wouldn't have thought about. And then I went ahead and pulled the trigger and bought a truck, got it built, and was open by November of 2012.
And so this is down in Houston, though.
This is down in Houston.
Because, at this point, Chef Tay is basically saying the market isn't sustainable up here maybe
Correct.
at the time.
Correct.
Okay.
And so I opened in Houston. We operated for about 2 years in Houston, very successfully. And then I got the opportunity to move back to Bryan College Station. My wife, still girlfriend at the time, lost her position became available. She was ended her contract, and so she didn't have anything planned. And I had an offer from the guys at Blackwater to come and help them open their brew pub.
Oh, okay.
The one on Northgate. So
I got you.
I came in. They said, we don't know anything about food. Why don't you do the food?
We'll do the beer.
We'll do the beer. And I said, cool. I don't know anything about beer other than how to drink it. So I came in.
They don't know anything about food, but except for how to eat it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There you go. It's fair. Yeah, exactly. It gave me the opportunity to do kind of really what I wanted to do, which was farm a table from scratch. Take it literally from my brain and put it on the plate. And so I really got to do that. I got to flex my culinary muscle. We were working with pretty much every local farm in town, maxing out their supply on what they could provide. And we were just doing crazy stuff. I mean, we did like Wagyu burgers. We did a foie gras gravy on biscuits and gravy. We did. We did Nemo nachos, which is still one of the most everybody talks about. Yeah. Raw tuna nachos on, fried wontons and multiple sauces and vegetables. And it was a lot of fun. We did, we were making our own bacon. We were cooking with real wood.
That's going to be my favorite name, though, for a dish.
Nemo nachos.
Nemo nachos.
I couldn't help myself. So all said and done, I really got to flex my culinary muscle, got to play with some of the things I really wanted to do. But I was still working for someone else or even working with someone else kind of really wasn't where I wanted to be.
Not completely autonomous really at that point.
Yeah, I needed to be able to say this is not what we're doing. And it couldn't be up for debate or, vote. It needed to be, this is what it is, and you got to get on board or get off.
Right.
And so no offense to those guys, we just decided that it was better, for them to have what they needed.
Right.
What they needed was somebody who's going to produce the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Consistently, which was perfect, and the guy that did it was really good at that. And I didn't want to do that, so I got back on my truck and we operated Big Daddy Z's for about a year, including on campus. We signed a contract with Chartwell's.
Well, and that's got to be a target market when you're in Bryan College Station. Just
and students.
Yeah, it's based solely off the sheer number that we have.
We did insane lunches. I mean, it was insane. And so we did that, and then I kind of just noticed that it was just not sustainable. It's not working. People liked the food, but it was not generating the type of income that I really needed. And I didn't see it being something that I could, And I didn't see it as something that I could really turn over in many different markets. And so that was something that I've always wanted, to get to a point where I feel like I can turn something into something bigger.
Right.
And so I felt like that was beautiful in the sense that I got to make food that really was close to my heart, which was Caribbean, Hawaiian, Southeast Asian fusion. But it just wasn't going to be something that I could ever really expand.
Well, and that was one part that I probably struggled with too, and I'm sure that just about everybody that starts and runs a food truck or any sort of mobile food industry, there's the business. You have to still think about the business portion. Is this sustainable? Financially, is this going to work? And is this something that I see building, or is this kind of if I max out and I'm just kind of stuck at this forever? But then also, that's the beauty of it is you really do get to flex your brain, and you get to, and it's good for your mental well-being to be able to just out of thin air come up with dishes and cook stuff. But at the same time, how do you marry the two? Because you still have to pump out some things at a consistent level all the time.
That your people that your regulars want to come for. Yeah.
Right. But which is okay because you can still pour love into doing the same thing 5 days a week. You really can. But at some point, it just becomes mundane, and it's just like a drag on you.
Well, and it was also, a lot of it wasn't even that I didn't love the food or love making that same dish over and over again. It was at what point does this amount of work, does it translate to how much I'm making? You know, how much effort and really how much love I'm putting into it. I still have to be able to, at the end of the day, provide for my family and do the things that I want to do. And it just wasn't there. And so we kind of like took a break during the summer, and I told at that point it was my wife, and I said, hey, let's go on a vacation. And she said, you just
quit your job.
You basically just quit your job. You own the truck, but you just quit your job.
Hello, Mr.
Yes,
Potato Head. I remember following you on social media.
25 weeks, or 25 states in 5.5 weeks.
I was like 25 weeks. I don't remember being that long.
No. 25 states in 5.5 weeks. We took a road trip from Texas to Maine, and Maine down to Florida, and back over to Texas, and hit every state in between.
Go down to Florida for like Cubano kind of stuff?
We did all of it. I mean, there was not anything that I didn't try.
I'm trying to think in the state of Florida, like, that really seems like the only sandwiches that Florida's known for is their Cubano kind of.
Yeah, the medianoche, like those are. I mean, I think that's the big one that they're known for.
Philly's got cheesesteaks. Florida, has Cubano.
Right.
Like South Carolina's got pulled pork, kind of that thing.
Right.
Like I'm not sitting here thinking.
I hate to tell you this though, they got pretty dang good barbecue restaurant, Texas barbecue restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Carolinas are full of great barbecue.
He's got what's his name's John. Oh, dying. Anyways, he's a former pit master for Mr. Franklin.
Oh, okay.
And he's doing some pretty cool stuff in Charleston.
Well, that's if you're a pit master, with Franklin, you probably chose to leave as opposed to getting canned. Right. Then chances are you know what you're doing.
Chances are, yes.
Maybe just a little.
Just a little bit. So,
all right, so sandwich tour.
Sandwich tour. We were eating the sandwiches everywhere. We wound up. I have some friends in South Jersey, which is like right across the river, right across the Delaware, and so we were
the Delaware.
The Delaware. Yes, that Delaware.
Imagine being magically whisked away to Delaware. Hi, we're in Delaware.
It's doing nothing.
All right, anyway, sorry.
So, and y'all don't know what that is, but if you do, good for you. But, anyways.
Want to do the Scooby-Doo thing? I'm just kidding.
No. So we were in Philadelphia. Okay. My friends from South Jersey are firefighters, and they came across the bridge and hung out with us for a couple days. And we went, and they took me around Philly, and we ate all these, we ate roast pork, we ate, which is the probably the better and most famous sandwich of Philly, but not known to tourists. So like in Philadelphia, you're much more likely to run into a local eating a roast pork
than you are a Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah. But the Philly cheesesteak is the one that's gone international.
But literally everywhere else.
Right, it's gone international. So I ate a lot of roast pork, a lot of cheesesteaks, probably like 400,000 calories, easy. And it was bad. But it really came down to once you eat the same sandwich over and over and over again, just made by different people, you start to pick out little nuances, or at least I do. Mm-hmm. So and I know you would too. But it was the bread's different. This one has sesame seeds on the top of the bread, and it's a little bit crispier. Then it was this steak is chopped up more than this steak was. Right. So really you're not even
grades of steak and everything. Yeah.
Right, and so you're really just start to get to a point where I was just sitting there going okay, this one's not better, and this one's better because. And it was but it was the same sandwich, just different. The cut of the onion, it was a very much a thing. So. At that point, when I started getting into the nitty-gritty of that, I knew that it was going to be cheesesteaks. And so by the time we came back, I had already known that we were going to do Blake Steaks. I had already made plans to have everything.
Born on a bar napkin in Philly, right?
Basically, yeah. It wasn't Ton Tavern, but, but it was close enough.
Jarheads.
Yeah, I know. So we had that ready to go.
How funny would that have been, though? Put up another plaque.
Blake Steaks.
Home of the Marine Corps. And Blake Steaks.
So we got back. I had a catering. Somebody had hired me for a catering. Said, whatever you're doing, I want you to cater. And whatever you're doing.
They're hiring you, not your food. They
didn't even care what I was serving.
This many people.
Yep.
You're like, it's really weird because I'm doing cinnamon oatmeal now. So, okay, I mean, we can do it. But
I mean, if you like Rice Krispie treats, I've got you. And so we did cheesesteaks for him. And I wound up picking up a partner in that whole deal. I picked up Dean.
Yeah.
And me and Dean partnered up. He had just left New Republic Brewing Company, which is his baby. And,
that's right. Oh, yeah. I've forgotten that was his baby. I totally forgot about that.
And so we went and I showed him a brick and mortar place, and he said, oh, yeah, it's kind of cool. I like it. Let's do something. And then he hopped on the truck for about a year. And then I said, okay, we need to pull the trigger on this. Otherwise, it's going to be you and me working on a truck for the rest of our lives. And so we found a location in College Station on University. Mm-hmm. And it was a great concept and an absolutely horrendous location. And so,
it's so tough to find that sweet spot geographically in this town. It really is.
Yep. And you'd think, being University Drive, on the way, it's not. It's on the other side. It's going away from the university.
Yep.
And just little things that kind of like really you don't really think about, and I had no idea.
Well, it's almost impossible to know.
Plus, I was in a food truck for 6 years before that,
just get me into
so I could just turn around, and point my window the other direction, and I was good to go. It was kind of one of those. So being stuck was great, but also it was a really tough learning experience. And then our lease came up right as COVID started to go in full swing. So we decided not to sign a lease come June. So the lease came up February 28th, and we actually got a free day out of it because it was the 29th. It was a leap year that year. And so we stayed open on the 29th.
The things we remember.
It was COVID. And so we closed, and we decided not to re-sign. But the original idea was taking the Zeitman's, grocery store, which I had on my 5.5-week trip had stopped and seen the original store that I'd heard about for so many years and was just lit a fire in me. And so when we got back, we were looking for a spot. We finally found a spot, but then our lease was coming up, so we're like, oh well, maybe we'll just move over here and have a Blake Steaks / Zeitman's grocery store.
Right.
And that just COVID came, and that kind of put things in perspective. And we realized, that maybe Zeitman's grocery store needed to be its own thing. Maybe it needed to have its own
identity
chance. Its own chance. It was something that lasted for, from 1891 to 1979. Maybe we should give it its own opportunity to succeed.
And see if it can just stand on its own 2 feet.
And it's been great. So
the location, first of all, the location is fantastic. 10 years ago, that's not a fantastic location.
Right.
But the rejuvenation of Bryan and everything that First Fridays and everything. So people are just going to Bryan more often now because of everything that they've done, especially with downtown. And so now it's a really good location.
Right.
So and again you need to go down there. Was it 220 North Main?
220 North Main, right next to the infamous and just celebrated 27 years Cafe Capri.
27. Yeah,
27 years.
Gonna give me a strawberry tart or 10. That's Excel.
They didn't survive.
No, they did not. Probably would cut all that out. So the big thing is kind of the legacy of this, and you be able to stand it up on its own 2 feet. And by the way, you do have a place in Zeitman's Grocery where you can still get a steak.
You can still get a cheesesteak, and it's even better than it was when we were at Blake Steaks.
And they've got a pretty extensive menu. You can get grandma's pies, so like the rectangular square pizzas.
Well, we're not doing grandma pies anymore. We're doing just like kind of a traditional Pete's, but
regular. Okay.
So we're doing round pies, but they're very thin, crispy. It's all about the ingredients, less about the the amount of ingredients.
Higher quality, less volume.
Real pizza, not the other stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, and then obviously a million different bagels.
Yep.
Cinnamon
which
rolls.
we make fresh every morning. And actually, I'm excited to tell you this because I know you're a beef guy. We just started. In fact, Friday, we will start serving our in-house made roast beef every day. So we're making fresh roast beef daily.
Well, I'm gonna have to adjust my Google Calendar apparently. And so again, but you can get all, and cinnamon rolls big enough for you to sit on. I'm not kidding. But
it's as big as your face.
Wonderful.
Yes.
But yeah, so check it out, and we're obviously going to tag Zeitman's and everything. You check out their website; they've got their menu up on there, or you could just go. This is Bryan College Station.
It's not far.
Wherever you are, you're about 9 minutes away.
Yeah.
And then, so I wanted to talk about obviously the legacy part of it. What's your hope for it? Like, what's
no, I know
not like the business vision that.
No,
you
I kind of get what you're saying. So, like,
where do you want it to go?
I'd really like to. I see the potential for different, revenue streams. Being able to take things like our bagels, our blended coffee, our coffee blend, and mass producing them, putting them in stores, which I'd really love. But
So is it product dispersion, or is it chaining, or is it both?
Yes, both.
Okay.
So like I don't see our full size version of what we're doing, but there is
almost like smaller, like a bodega level.
There's talks of making like a small drive-through deli in another
fantastic.
area of town.
That'd be fantastic.
We're not there yet, but we're looking.
Wheels are turning.
Wheels are turning. Hopefully not actual wheels, because we don't want to get back in a food truck.
Other people, it's a drive-through. It's y'all's wheels. It's no longer his wheels.
That's right.
You got to drive to him.
That's
now.
right. That's right.
That's really neat.
And then I also have some like other little things that I'm working on.
Always dreaming big. I mean,
yeah, we're starting to do we're doing our own pastrami and our own corned beef.
Mm-hmm.
We're just starting to do our own roast beef. So soon I see turkey, and hams kind of becoming a thing as well. And then I'd really like to get into some charcuterie. And I don't mean putting plates together, I mean actually making.
You're gonna put classes on every Saturday.
Being like a salumeria, like making salamis, making our own cured meats, and having a curing room and doing that. It's kind of a side project, just more of a passion project.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of being a business proprietor is it's really, where you're at, be successful, make sure everything that you're doing currently in its current state is sustainable. And then, have the, 1, 2, 5 kind of goals, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year. Right. But the beauty of it is you really can dream as big as you want to, because one, you have enough business experience to where your dreams aren't going to be completely out of control and unachievable.
Right.
But once those dreams are out there, you really have the ability, because of your experience and knowledge, to go, I can make this happen.
Yeah.
So
this might actually make us some money.
Yeah.
And we can do what we want to do.
It's one of those that no dream is really too big. Right. Because your brain, because of your experience, is probably going to keep you from dreaming something that's like, I want to open up 30 stores in London. Yeah, okay. There's probably some things between now and then.
Right.
So that's exciting. I'm really excited about the drive-through deli and the roast beef and I eat too much. I think I'm starting to notice a trend. Okay, so the one question that I ask all my guests, and this guy can cook, so I know he's going to have an answer. Unlike so many of my guests don't. It's because Ribs real estate rambling. You have a building, so there's a real estate portion for today's episode. Rambling. I think you've caught up on that. Yeah, I think you've caught up on the ramblings. Yeah. Ribs. All right, so you're having a barbecue, but you're having like a dignitary over, or somebody you want, or maybe like an investor you're talking about. So you want to impress them. You're going to make ribs. What's your go-to recipe? And if there's some secret stuff in there, you don't have to let it out. What's your go-to, like, knock it out of the park ribs? Is it beef? Is it pork? What are you putting on them?
It's definitely pork.
Spare, baby. St. Louis spare.
I'm probably going to buy spare and then cut them down to like St. Louis style ribs, so I can have those extra little pieces for myself. Or make some beans. I mean, make some beans to go with it. But I would say probably if I was going to really blow somebody's mind, I would go with some kind of I'm more like I told you, like I really love the Caribbean Hawaiian style fusion.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And so
well, you did pork, so this
right.
is...
So some kind of like Hawaiian style like Kahlua pork. Probably if I could get crazy with it, I'd probably
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to.
Sauce them up, cook them nice and well, and then instead of wrapping them in tinfoil or butcher paper, I'd wrap them in banana leaves and throw them back on the on the deal and let them finish that way, and then just sauce them as they come out. But I think like Kahlua style ribs would be.
I figured this would probably be the most unique answer I will ever, have ever or will ever receive.
Not Kahlua. Just for the record.
That's on the side.
For the record.
That's on the side for you, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, first of all, Blake, I appreciate you coming out here. I
Absolutely,
appreciate your friendship, your mentorship over the years. If there's anything you got coming up with your business, I know you kind of leaked some of the stuff already, but there's anything or any charities or just anything you got going on around town, just look square in the camera. You got 15 to 30 seconds and just let everybody know what's coming up big. I know you kind of already left some stuff out, but
we've got some new sandwiches that are coming out. We've got some new meats that we're going to start doing ourselves in house.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
This summer, I started putting on the first annual festival, Festa Italiana. We will do the second Festival Italiana, Festa Italiana in downtown Bryan this summer. It's going to be bigger and better. And we're just going to continue to support local and try and work with some of our other people. Go Coffee, who's our oldest wholesale client, good New Englanders. But we just want to continue to be a part of this community and do what we can.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming as always. We need to get together more often and drink beer. And I wish you were Schmear as well. I wish you were Schmear. But again, coming to you from Cooper's Old Time Pit Barbecue in Aggieland. Thank y'all so much for joining us, and we will see y'all around next time.